Hello everyone, welcome to a special edition of the Team Yume podcast. And by that I mean, unfortunately Goosey will not be able to join us tonight. He's been busy doing a pop cover of Hop on the Pogo Stick. Hop
That's
on
a very
the pogo
unusual
stick,
song.
the pogo stick, the pogo stick, hop on the pogo stick, hee hee! That is the pop cover. Done.
Well, it works.
On your pogo stick, your pogo stick, your pogo stick. Hop on your pogo stick and hop right through the day. Who cares if rubber's short? Just laugh it off and be a sport. Hop on your pogo stick just like a kid at play. No stopping for red lights, no worry over headlights, no fenders or bumpers, nor monthly notes on puddle jump.
Again, hello everyone, I am Madhog Master and I am joined tonight by the Magic Twins.
Is that seriously going to be our nickname?
Madhog and the Magic Twins. This show will kill in the ratings, the Justice Friends.
Can we not have that name? Because that just sounds very close to a very bad porno title, if I ever heard one.
I was going to say Silver Age superhero team, but
like I said, you're like the Wonder Teen. You're like the Wonder Twins.
No, the Wonder Tins are fine. I mean...
Okay.
I have about as much personality as a tin, so...
The Wonder Teen. Well, this is definitely a way to start a podcast, isn't it?
It certainly is.
Like a train wreck.
Yes. The train wreck that you cannot stop watching. Because you are on the rails. And
it's all in slow motion.
And the train...
Because Braun Strowman is tipping the train over!
I was going to say that Braun Strowman is the train, but that works too.
You will tip that train over and drink up all the tears of every child that cries.
Oh, where? He killed Roman, my hero now! Oh, can we do an entire podcast just talking about how awesome Braun Strowman is? The biggest babyface of WWE as of last Monday. And by that I mean the Monday of 2 Mondays ago, by the time this podcast comes out. Yes.
Yeah.
Because we are recording on a Saturday, but this... actually...
Sunday.
No, not even a Sunday. We are recording on a Monday morning, and this will go out as soon as I finish editing it, which will take days because of my particular editing style. So, 2 Mondays ago, Braun Strowman, greatest hero of our times. Absolutely. Give this guy a main event push.
I definitely agree with that sentiment just because of how they're pushing this guy.
Yes. Well, hopefully they will continue to push him.
Yes, hopefully that will be the case. And they'll work with the strengths that he has been going with so far.
Yes, well, either they push him or he pushes everyone else down a cliff.
Or Braun Strowman doesn't need a push from anybody. He pushes himself up.
No, you see, when Braun Strowman does push-ups, it's the earth that goes up and down. Because there's over 7 billion people in this planet, and nobody is as powerful as Strowman. He goes in the woods, he trains with lifting tree trunks.
Wrestling bears.
Apparently, when he uses an axe on a tree, he causes lava to explode from the crust of the earth.
He sure does.
Well, it's certainly better than the William Regal's "He's a Man," such a man entrance debut. I still remember that WWE. I always remember.
Well, at least he's not Mr. Ass, Bam Bam.
Oh, God.
Oh, my.
Oh, my,
well,
indeed.
Well, it could be worse. Could be that beaver cleavage, or whatever you call that, whatever that gimmick was supposed
yes. It's like Leave It to Beaver, except gross, grown up, and incestuous.
Yeah.
I don't know who could have possibly thought that was a good idea, but then again...
Monday Night Wars, we're willing to do anything.
Okay, let's begin this podcast properly, because I think there is something that we all watched not too long ago, and I think it's also something that we're all raring to talk about for this very reason. Which is sound logic if I ever pronounced one. So, MLP Season 7 premiere. Well, sort of premiere. It was really a couple of not really related episodes that came out at the same time, and they were packaged as a premiere, typical 2 episodes long premiere, but they are just 2 unrelated episodes instead, which I have nothing against, because honestly the formula of the premiere and the 2 episodes arc to bookend and book start a season of MLP has completely run its course as of last season, aka the worst season.
Yeah, that didn't go so well last time with that one.
Yes, well, we are living in the Josh Aber age of terror, as it were, and you know what? If we really want to discuss this new premiere, I think it's important to get our feelings out when it concerns the show itself, the My Little Pony Friendship is Magic show as a whole, specifically last season, and how it changed from being decent to not being decent. At least that's my general opinion of it. What about you, Dantan?
My general opinion's about the same as yours, actually. I wasn't very impressed with last season as much as the previous ones. It just didn't live up to the standards of Lord Tyrek and whatnot.
That was all the way back to season 4, when the show peaked. Okay, you need to keep into consideration that there has been a big change as of season 6 in the writing direction of the show. The show header was no longer Megan McCarthy.
Yeah.
Josh Aber, which was the safest, most vanilla writing the show ever had, was put in charge. Also, the show seemed to have ditched the 1 writer per episode formula they used to have before. Now, every episode has about 3 or even 4 writers.
If Final Fantasy's taught me anything, you can't have too many writers on the same story. It's not gonna get terrible and confusing.
Too many writers spoil the broth, you know?
Yes, I do get the analogy.
So, but there are pros and cons to have all these writers, and 1 head writer, basically story editing all of the various episodes. One of the biggest issues we had in past seasons was that there wasn't really a overall vision. We would have something to begin the show, and something to end the show, or the season, as it were, and everything in between was just a bunch of self-contained episodes, which, to be fair, they would be the self-contained vision of a very specific writer, whichever writer was attached to that very episode. We would have a very recognizable style, such as Megan McCarthy writing an episode about somebody going crazy, for example, or the T-Rex fight, and then we would have a Polsky episode, which is often the funnier one, and so on and so forth. The point is, every writer in that show had a very specific vision of what the characters and the stories and the humor should be. Even though that would often lead us to have inconsistent characterizations and continuities every once in a while, we would also have individual episodes feeling very strong. Some of the very best episodes in the entire show came out in season 4, including the Pinkie Pie and Weird Al Yankovic musical episode.
Yeah, I think everyone remembers that one. It's very hard to forget that episode.
That is where the show peaked. There is no turning back after that. honestly.
Indeed, yeah, definitely. There's definitely no contest on that one.
Having now multiple writers on every single episode pretty much guarantees that every single episode will not have a individual personal interpretation of the show by an individual writer that had a vision. The only positive aspect of this particular executive decision is that theoretically the show should have a more linear, straightforward and consistent narrative or leitmotif throughout the season.
You would think that if they pull writers together, then they would be able to pull ideas together and take the best ones out of those ideas.
No, the real problem is that the head writer is Josh Haber. You see?
Yeah.
Because Josh Haber is the one that has the final word as to how to write the story and how to edit a single story and what the story overall is going to be, what characters are going to be the centerpiece, and what have you. The problem is, like I said before, that Josh Haber is the Kool-Aid writer. His episodic debut in the show was all the way back in season 4, when he wrote the episode Castlemania, you know, that really lame Scooby-Doo parody. That was his episode. You know what else he wrote in season 4?
What would that be?
Well, he wrote that episode in which Rarity rolls in mud. And that one in which I don't even remember what that episode was about. It was that forgettable.
I believe it was to do with Granny Smith and a tonic, and it made her feel strong and young and whatnot. But in actual fact, it was just a placebo effect.
Yes, well, regardless, Josh Haber was a vanilla writer at best, and that is the guy you put in charge of the show. That's because he's safe. He's the safe choice. Now, with that said, season 6 was a terrible season because it was a forgettable season. There is hardly any episode that stands out from the rest.
Yeah, now you mention it, I don't remember a single episode standing out.
With that said, I would like to think that these 2 initial episodes of season 7 are already much better than anything season 6 had to offer. Somehow. I like them. It seems like they had more personality, and I think a good reason for that is that the focus on both times were not the original main characters, but rather the focus were essentially the new main characters.
Yeah, with Starlight Glimmer and Trixie and all that.
Yes. So what did you think of these 2 episodes?
I thought personally that they were okay. They weren't amazing, but I liked them overall. I thought they were a little funny at times, like with Celestia sharing her story with Twilight, that she had the same worries as her in the present.
Yes, you know, this is one of the best changes in the show's direction so far. They have turned Celestia into a proper actual character. And she's funny.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we sacrificed their aura of divinity a long time ago, but we gain an actual character in return. I'm fine with that.
Though I will say that the second episode in which Starlight Glimmer literally bottles up her anger was a little ham-fisted, if you get my meaning.
Yes.
On the nose, you mean?
This show has never been too subtle. Well, it has been even less subtle in the last couple of seasons, but you know what? I'm fine with that ham-fisted visual metaphor, because Starlight Glimmer teaming up with Trixie is good for business.
Did you notice that in that episode, whoever wrote that episode had an obsession with nuts? Because Trixie wanted nuts, Granny Smith said that she also would like some nuts and all, and then for some reason, Rainbow Dash says nuts when they fail that task of beating the world record that the Griffins had.
Well, isn't it obvious?
Because everyone's nuts.
Yes, everyone's nuts. That episode was nuts. You are nuts for watching it. You are nuts for liking the show.
Basically, they were good episodes. They're definitely better than what I would see from season 6. But saying that, there were only certain scenes I really enjoyed, like seeing Celestia in like a motherly figure sort of light.
Celestia, more like Sassy Celestia.
Yeah, Sassy Celestia.
Sass Celestia.
Yeah, she's got an apron on, and she's going, "Oh no, you didn't."
No, she is... Okay, honestly, I was ready from the start to hate this new season on a principle because Josh Haber really soured me on the whole franchise. But Celestia really made me like that episode. She single-handedly rescued that episode from being pretty dull otherwise. But no, her character, her now fully developed character, really suits the remaining ensemble cast. She has good chemistry with the other characters, and that's because all the voice actors and voice actresses in this show have been developing a chemistry for the past 7 years. It's still them. That is nuts.
It definitely is nuts now that you think about it. 7 years of My Little Pony.
Jeez. And now we're getting a movie this autumn.
That's crazy, isn't it, to think that? I will admit, though, that I really liked the ending to that first episode, though, despite its dullness, and Celestia was a high note on that one for me as well.
Yes.
I found the final scene where Starlight Glimmer finally graduates was a bit touching to me. You know, it's like, I don't know if it's because of the way the actors basically sell it to me, or the way the overall piece, so to speak, of the scene, but it's like something just really spoke to me, connect with all the characters and how they were feeling, you know, about this next step in Starlight Glimmer's life, essentially.
Yes. You know what else I noticed? That Starlight Glimmer graduated from friendship school much faster than Twilight did.
Yes.
Isn't it a bit weird that a student and pupil have basically the same age?
Yes.
Yes, that is
Isn't
kind of
it
weird.
a bit weird that Starlight Glimmer is basically Twilight Sparkle when she was less boring? Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. At this point in time, I've completely grown out of patience and out of love for the main 6, as it were. I think we've had way too many episodes dedicated to them, and everything you could say about their characters and their individual journeys have been said so many times at this point that I have grown apathetic, which is why I'm welcoming the idea of a new set of main characters to focus our visual efforts on, so to speak. Starlight Glimmer, Trixie, Discord, and even the freaking...
Forax.
The king of the newly reformed good guy changelings. Even him, he seems okay.
Your body's rebelling. You must bottle it up, Madhog.
I cannot believe they killed the mystique of the changelings. Just like that, in that rushed finale. Oh my god.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of that either, just so you know. I mean, all that potential and then suddenly this.
Okay, I'll tell you what. I like Starlight Glimmer. Even though her babyface turn was absolute garbage back in season 5, my gosh, they botched that so hard. It was the worst turn since The Big Show.
Which one?
Everyone! Starlight was welcomed in the new babyface roster by the fans the same way Roman Reigns was welcomed by the wrestling fans as a top guy. Except not as violently.
Yeah.
I mean, there was no Braun Strowman coming out of nowhere, that's for sure.
Yeah,
That would make
no.
this season even better if they had a Braun Strowman pony as one of Starlight Glimmer's friends.
Well, they had a Schwarzenegger pony.
That's true, yeah.
I suppose so.
Okay, okay, so the main problem with Starlight Glimmer's babyface persona is that she lost the edge and the charisma that made her interesting as a true villain. As a babyface, she... again, was like Twilight Sparkle when she was starting to learn about friendship. She was nervous about things. Oh no, what if I fail? Nervousness, anxiety. The main differences with Princess Sparkle was really a difference in perspective. Because Starlight was a reformed villain,
Yeah.
which is actually far too similar to the other one, with a name that's synonymous with sun setting. Or,
Yeah, Sunset Shimmer.
Yes. That's too similar to her, but also she's far better at magic than Twilight ever was.
Which is bold to me, still.
Which is a bold decision. For all intents and purposes, she seems like a far more competent Twilight, honestly. In fact, she was actually much faster in graduating from friendship school. You know, in any other show or in any other story, she would seem like such a Mary Sue. Like a self-insert OC.
Yeah.
And all of that. But I think she's fine. All she needed was the right sidekicks to bring up the charisma out of her. Pairing her up with Trixie, fantastic idea. She's such an insufferable cunt when she wants to, that she makes ponies explode in rage.
Yeah.
And also, it's a perfect for actually teasing the fans with the ships.
Do we even acknowledge them as undertones? Because they seemed a bit overtoned.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean when I saw the second episode and how they were acting with each other, like all touchy and pushy and such. I couldn't help but feel like I'm sensing girlfriends here.
Well, you could argue that it's important in a relationship to be on equal grounds, and if your partner is doing something that bothers you, you should tell them instead of literally bottling your magical anger. Because it does not bring good things in the end, because your bottled up anger might actually end up being toxic to the people around you, which is literally what happens in this ham-fisted episode, as you put it.
Yeah, it definitely is something, that's for sure. Especially the explanation of how Starlight Glimmer uses her magic. She uses her emotions, what's in her heart. And I'm like thinking to myself, wasn't most magic supposed to be done with your mind?
Retroactive continuity?
Then again, Starlight Glimmer also contradicts herself as well in that episode by saying you have to, concentrate on the teacup in your mind, sort of thing, to change it.
I'm going to try to explain this, even though the show does not deserve.
Yes, please.
Starlight Glimmer is a magical prodigy. We established that. She was able to do things through self-research, much like Twilight did.
Yeah.
Except she did it out of hatred and anger and resentment. So her raw magical power must have been influenced by her emotions as well. And as much as we like the romantic idea of emotions coming from the heart, they all come from the brain. Come on. It's the brain that stimulates every activity in our body, including what we think or how we think.
Yes,
or
true.
what we feel. So the two elements that you pointed out are not mutually exclusive. So I guess her biggest challenge was to properly learn to channel her emotions in order to become a better practitioner of magic and better at this whole friendship thing, because as we all know, magic is friendship is magic, yada yada yada, blah blah blah. Trixie makes fun of it. I've said enough.
And Trixie will now keep the ship sailing.
And yet
Okay,
Trixie is such a likable cunt.
It's hard to make a likable cunt character, but apparently you can. If Red Dwarf is any indication, you can.
Yes.
So, can we have every episode of this season starring Starlight and Trixie, and maybe Discord, and sometimes even Thorax, or a combination of these four, and maybe some other of the main six, when they are not together? Because if there is one thing that this episode makes absolutely clear is that the show is done with the main six. There was a continued alternate montage in between whatever Starlight and Trixie were doing and the main six were also doing on their own. It showed to us that while the main six were having the time of their lives, because at this point their friendship is unbreakable, they agree on everything, they solve problems together, they sing a stupid song about it, wasting time, by the way, which was a nice joke. While Starlight and Trixie, they have a lot to work on. and that is where you want your show to focus on. The main six, we are done with them. Let's focus on a new group of friends and main characters. And if this is indeed the direction that this season will take, which was the direction last season should have taken already, I might add, wasting our time,
Yeah.
I'm all for keeping watch on this season 7.
Yes, I would be up for that too. I mean, I'm definitely a bit more infused for this season than I was for 6, that's for sure. Yeah.
I mean,
I think my biggest problem with it is that they don't really do anything with the map properly. They don't go searching new lands and new places and meeting new people and what so forth. And
well, they only did that 3 times, essentially.
You know, if there is something else that this episode establishes is the complete inutility of the map itself. It becomes the crutch, the conflict that the map disappears and reappears inside the freaking spa. Which in turn tells me that the map is such a complete and pointless plot device and the writers are now aware of it.
Yeah.
So there is a bit more of self-awareness in this season so far, in these 2 episodes, especially in regards to what was quote-unquote accomplished in the past couple of seasons. And I like that because if there was something that was missing recently in the show was that edge, that small but significant edge in both the characterization and the storytelling and the humor, the self-aware nature of the humor. That edge was missing.
Let's hope it stays that sharpened and it just
Yes.
Yeah.
Starlight is far more well adjusted than Twilight ever was at this stage. Also, she's turning into an alicorn. I think that's pretty obvious, which makes me groan inwardly.
Yeah.
We might as well take all the alicorns and form the Power Rangers with them. Go, go, Pony Rangers!
Sun, moon, heart, magic, and magic version 2.0.
How about the element of being friends with Trixie? Patience. Yes.
Her catchphrase could be, things are about to get Trixie.
Oh God. Go die in a ditch.
I will do. Bye.
Okay. Anyway, so I guess those were our thoughts on the quote-unquote season premiere, but not really, of season 7. It is so much better than season 6. I am not looking forward for the Flurry Heart episode. I am not looking forward to that.
I never look forward to any baby episodes.
Little abomination with overgrown wings. She's like the 2-winged angel. Except she's a devil.
I wouldn't say that about her.
Aeneas interius ira vehementi Flurry Heart. Flurry Heart. Oh man.
She better be the final boss in season 7.
I kind of wish Twilight Sparkle has a proper heel turn at some point, because she was such a good heel in that Trixie Starlight episode in season 6.
Hey girls, how about we turn evil for this season?
Yes, let the hate flow through you.
But seriously, I am completely fine in having the main 6 becoming background characters or sidekicks this season. We've had enough of them.
We have other things to be talking about, don't we? I believe.
Watch out!
Bum, 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 Samurai Jack.
I'm going to be completely honest with you. I did not particularly like this episode.
Oh gosh, that scene.
Okay, so, hey, it's the old Scotsman guy, now really old, that's leading an invasion of Aku's Tower with his thousands of daughters.
Yeah. So I will say that I really loved the scene with the Scotsman in that one, though, with his daughters, going like, what you think you're wearing, sort of thing. You look like you've gone been dancing.
Ah, Joe DiMaggio, your voice is too recognizable for your own good.
It was very hilarious, that scene, to me, for some reason.
Well, and then Aku comes out and kills everybody, essentially. Well, not the Scotsman daughters, but literally everyone else who showed up for that glorious day of battle. And then the Scotsman taunts him, and Aku straight up murders him. Except, no, he immediately comes back as a ghost.
Because of Celtic magic.
Are you freaking kidding me? This is the new and improved Samurai Jack, the adult-oriented Samurai Jack, the well-written, mature, very clever and intelligent Samurai Jack, and you have a character coming back as a ghost literally because of magic.
That was completely unnecessary.
I mean, even as a joke, it's not very funny, but it's not really a joke because now it's a major plot point.
Yeah, because now he basically has a plan.
You have an important plot point, and you make it happen, literally, because of magic. Which is the laziest trope, the laziest narrative trope imaginable.
I just don't understand why he couldn't have had this plan, while he's still alive. Instead, he had to be killed by Aku, and then have the plan when he's dead.
I would hope this was not his plan all along, because it took the death of thousands of people to accomplish it. I really hope that was not the plan all along, because, oh my gosh. This show was the best thing on television up until last episode, and now this? That moment took me out of the episode instantly. In fact, if I had to summarize the entire episode, is that I think it should have been 2 episodes, because it feels rushed. There is a lot happening, and it happens too quickly that it does not have the same emotional and psychological impact that episodes prior to this one had.
Yeah, it definitely feels a bit too fast and too rushed to the point, essentially, of what they were going for.
I could not fathom that an episode of New Jack could be mediocre. Honestly, after this outstanding run it had for
4 episodes now.
4 episodes of greatness, and now this? Huh.
Hopefully that will change and it won't go further down. I mean, surely, right? It wouldn't go further downhill.
It better not.
I doubt it. I think great things are coming, especially by the end of this episode, which also felt like a bit of a cop-out, because none of the children really dies, which makes Jack's descent into madness, so to speak,
a bit pointless.
I wouldn't say pointless, but less impactful, again, because all he needs to get out of that funk was somebody to tell him, hey, those kids are not dead. You're still a hero, samurai! Which is such a cop-out! Why is this the episode of the cop-outs? Oh my gosh. I understand what they're going for, I understand all too well, but this does not convince me too much. But really, I was out of the episode ever since the Scotsman scene. So that did not help.
I mean, I had better ideas of what to do with the Scotsman, but, why bother having characters building on other characters in a very nice way, and when we could just have characters die and become ghosts?
Because of magic.
Celtic magic!
Celtic magic! Damn it. And I know that's a callback to the Scotsman's first appearance. I did not enjoy it regardless.
Yeah,
also, I find his voice really annoying.
Really? You find his voice annoying?
Extremely annoying.
I didn't really find him annoying, personally.
I mean, I was kind of happy that Aku killed him. It was simultaneously funny and also tragic because, again, we have a super villain that's basically one giant goofball that can kill thousands of people if he feels like it.
Yeah.
And he destroys the Scotsman in a manner that's very befitting of a big cartoon character. But then you see the consequences of that, and there is nothing left of him but bones and ashes. Except he's a ghost now, so all of that goes out of the window.
That still saddens me that happened. I mean, the Scotsman used to be such a badass and awesome in the original series
Well,
run.
he had to age. I mean, after all, it's been 50 years.
He could have still been a badass in that wheelchair, though. Yeah, I mean, all those daughters. I mean, good
Where
freaking
do they
lord.
even come from? How is that even physically, anatomically, scientifically possible?
And how is it even possible to have so many daughters and no sons?
In the small space of time that he aged within the 50 years, how did he have 1,000 daughters?
And why do they all look the same? Are they all twins? They might just be adopted.
Yeah, that's a good point. And that would be really sad then if they're adopted and he didn't really have a wife.
And they all had plastic surgery to make them all look the same.
Can you see why this episode tonally seems not to be quite on par with what the series has been so far? Because Aku acting as a goofball is one thing, but then the Scotsman coming out with 1,000 daughters and dying and returning as a ghost because of magic, that's a completely different thing. That's just...
I can't really think much on this episode after that. I mean, there was some really strong moments, but they felt really
rushed.
Rushed.
They were a bit too
like
quick.
I said before.
The big redemption arc of Ashi really boiled down to a really rushed out montage of various scenes and Jack bringing her to see how the world of Aku really is, and the whole ordeal takes about 3 minutes.
As she had this vision of her mother as the moon, just basically talking to her, and she answers her mother by saying, "I want the truth." Why couldn't that be a journey sort of thing? You know, so then she could see over time what the world is like.
They are rushing her development out of the door because they only have a limited amount of episodes to wrap things up. I think they have about 8 episodes to tell whatever story they want to tell. They took their time in the first 4 episodes, but now they have a lot of plot to deal with, and they had to rush it out of the door. So they had Ashi's redemption arc and development, the Scotsman's return, and Jack's descent into the pit of sadness, all in the span of 1 episode. It is way too many elements to be had in a single episode to properly show and develop them individually.
There must have been a better way to handle this. I will definitely continue watching myself just because, well, I'm really invested in the first 4 episodes. They really got me to be way more into this Samurai Jack more than any other season of Samurai Jack has ever been to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would like for this one to be no short of perfect at this rate, but I can handle 1 episode being mediocre at least. So I'll have to see where all the rest of it goes and if actually is worth the sacrifice of the time that could have went into other plot points that couldn't be incorporated to the story properly.
I guess we'll see. There is a new anime this season titled Atom: The Beginning, which is supposed to be the prequel story to Astro Boy, which,
yes,
as you know, in Japanese, Astro Boy was called Atom. So here I am, being very excited at the prospect of seeing a new Astro Boy show. The problem is, it's a prequel, and it tells the story of Professor Ochanomizu and Tenma when they were young college students and built their own first superhero robots. And here I am looking at all this and realizing, hold on a second, this is an Astro Boy show without Astro Boy.
Are they kidding?
Do you see a problem with this?
I'm gonna take a wild guess, but no Astro Boy means no Astro?
And also no boy.
Yes.
I understand that there have been way too many reboots and remakes of Astro Boy. There is only so many times you can tell the same story over and over again. But this is unacceptable! How can you make a story set in the world of Astro Boy and not having the character that makes the franchise be there? This show is about young Tenma and Ochanomizu. Tenma being the douchey father that built Astro Boy to replace his dead son and then abandoned him and sold him to the circus, and Ochanomizu being the father figure that was there to be the father figure and nothing more interesting than that. Just a mentor. Hey Astro Boy, this is how things work here, here and here. Ah, exposition dead. Thank you for telling me that. I could not be bothered to care about this new robot hero because it's not Astro Boy. Where is my Astro Boy? I want Astro Boy. I don't want this no-named superhero robot, named 6 by the way, that looks like Chappie. Oh man, this is so disappointing.
Wow. Yeah, I could definitely feel that. Wow, I mean, having the title character in the title of your show and not to have them in it.
Atom! Atom the beginning! But there is no Atom in it! Look, if you did not want to do a reboot of the show, you could have just gone the Osomatsu-san route. In that you make a show that's basically a direct sequel to the original 1960s show. Not the American version of it. The original 137 episodic run of the 60s Astro Boy ended up with Astro Boy dying in the sun. So, here's an idea. You could make a show that's a direct sequel to that, and Astro Boy returns. I mean, it writes itself. For crying out loud, you made a sequel show to Osomatsu-san, which was Osomatsu-kun in the 60s. Why can't you do the same for Astro Boy, the most important figure of your animated tradition, Japan?
Yeah, he's pretty much the grandfather of animation, isn't he?
He is the granddaddy of them all. Well, Kazuka is, at the very least.
Kazuka is, and Astro Boy is the creation that kickstarted anime as a
television medium.
Yeah, as a television medium. Yeah, thanks for that, Madhog. In their country. So, yeah, pretty much. You know, so to hear them not to respectfully respect the source material properly,
they are not being disrespectful. They're just taking the franchise into a direction that I'm not particularly invested in. I would be lying if I said I was not pervaded by a sudden sense of nostalgia when I saw Ochanomizu and Tenma and even a brief appearance of Shunsaku-ban in that first episode.
Yeah.
I immediately recognized Ochanomizu even though he's younger, because he still has that big nose. So yes, and I also noticed Skunk making an appearance, which is one of the most noticeable villains in the Astro Boy's Rogue Gallery.
Huh. Interesting.
Yes, I'm going to watch this. I'm just going to be preemptively disappointed that Astro Boy is not in a show that's named after him.
It might be. It just might be in the...
Yeah, okay, sure. Well, in that case, this is going to be like a Prometheus affair in which you watch it, even though it's terrible, just in the hopes that you see the alien right at the end of it.
Yeah, good point.
That is a good point, actually. Yeah.
They could have made a sequel to literally the 2003 series. Why not?
That soured your mood slightly. Again.
Yeah.
Is it me or is this becoming a podcast about mediocrity and hopes being dashed of not being able to see the things you were expecting?
Disappointment might be the term you were looking for.
This is the podcast of disappointment.
All around me are familiar faces.
Oh boy.
Hop on the pogo stick, the pogo stick, the pogo stick, hop on the pogo stick, etc.
There is no way to make that song sad at all.
Recently, I've rewatched a couple of episodes from a show I have not watched since 2006. I cannot pronounce the German title to save my life, but the English title is School for Little Vampires.
Why does that sound so familiar to me?
I was just thinking that as well. That title is so familiar.
Well, it is a pretty generic title. I mean, how many times have you seen a gimmick high school show that has vampires in it?
Then again, I'm not thinking like something akin to, let's see, School of Monsters, like the one Scooby and Shaggy went to.
There was also a monster school themed cartoon back in the 90s, I think.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a new concept, and it's not a particularly old one as well. It's a concept that has been used.
It's a concept that gets used every so often.
But back in 2006, vampires were pretty much resurging in popularity for many reasons. This cartoon was a Italian and German production, interestingly enough. And really, it was the kind of cartoon you would watch when there is nothing else to watch on television, to pass the time and fight boredom, because there is nothing particularly special about it. It has an interesting art style and character design, the kind that is intrinsically German and Italian, which is a very specific example, I understand, but to me, personally, I see this cartoon, I recognize that it is indubitably German. It looks like a German cartoon. By the way it is animated, by the way the characters are drawn. The gimmick is that it's a school for vampire kids. There are several quirks and interesting, funny references when it comes to the character design. For example, the principal of the school is clearly supposed to be Gary Oldman's Dracula, from that Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula film.
Yeah.
Very interesting design in that sense. There is a teacher who's clearly supposed to be Count Ulrich from Nosferatu.
Yeah.
There is a child named Stoker, by the way. That's clearly supposed to be Bela Lugosi's Dracula. So there are various incarnations of Dracula referenced through character design, which is about as subtle a reference can get in a children's cartoon made in Germany. Which is nice, and also inexplicably, the butler character in the show is the butler character from the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Okay, that's interesting though.
It's great to see that guy animated. It's really great. Also, for a children's cartoon from the mid-2000s, there is a lot of blood. There is a lot of blood, there is a lot of talk about blood, and it doesn't really shy away from the fact that these are vampires and they feed off human blood. In fact, one of the little main characters' own shtick is that he cannot stand the sight of blood, so he faints. And he's also a vegetarian, much like Count Dracula. So
I was going to say Count Duculus.
Yeah, same here. I was going to say it reminds me of Count Ducula, where you describe the butler and whatnot.
The most visually interesting element of the show are the various transitions, the animated transitions in between scenes, because sometimes it's a giant skeleton hand ripping off the page of the scene to get us to the next scene. Or maybe it's a storm of bats flying from right to left, like a Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
And some other times, a literal waterfall of blood. The show, for how vanilla it is, has a lot of grim undertones in the fact that, yes, these are vampires, and yes, they are shown to us trying to feed off human blood, except every time there is some shenanigans that's preventing them from actually doing it, because again, children's cartoon, but the fact that it is at the very least visually established that they are proper vampires inevitably establishes that they kill people because they need to feed.
Yeah.
Blood is always at the epicenter of the show because it's a show about vampires, but for kids. one of the child characters is a literal living pile of ash.
Oh, wow.
Because that child was exposed to the sunlight, so he turned into ashes, and now he is going to be like this for the rest of eternity, which is a fate worse than death. The show never draws any attention to this obvious fact, but it's there, and oh my gosh, this is so tragic. I would imagine that for a vampire, that would be the equivalent of being a quadriplegic.
I imagine so.
It's kind of awful.
It's very terrible.
So, School for Little Vampires, there are a couple of episodes on YouTube I found with the questionable English dub, if you want to check them out.
Yeah.
It's nothing interesting, it's a really forgettable show overall. But it has its moments, I wouldn't say charm, but it has its moments that make you question how did they get away with it.
Well, that's, that exists, at least.
Yep, that indeed is a thing that exists. And that is my review for A School for Little Vampires. Oh yeah, another thing.
Yeah.
The antagonist of the show is a vampire hunter. Okay, so you might be thinking, it must be Van Helsing, right? It makes sense. The vampires are protagonists, which means Van Helsing is the antagonist, right?
You would think so, but I bet it's not.
Okay, so the vampire hunter is a senile old man named Polis Polidori.
What was that supposed to mean?
I have no idea. That name makes no sense to me, and I hate it. Anyway, that's my review of School for Little Vampires.
Yeah, just adding the villain's name, and that's it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Vanilla, full of quirks, and a weird name. Got it.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Right, so, Devar, was there a game you wanted to talk about? I think you brought that to attention to me before we started the recording.
Oh, yes, I did. Well, as of late, I have been deep in the wilds. The breath of the wild, so to speak.
Oh, no!
Yes.
You bought a Switch?
No, I bought the Wii U version of the game. No way I was going to buy an expensive console for one game. Good freaking lord.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because I decided to buy the Wii U version, unlike what I did years ago for Twilight Princess, where I bought the Wii version over the GameCube version, just because. Other than graphical enhancements, I didn't really see a reason to wait for the Switch version. My fiance got me the Wii U version just because I brought it up to her. I've been stuck with it ever since, and I had a feeling that this was going to be a game changer from the way the trailers looked and the way the developers were working on it and pointing out several things that were going to be different from the typical Zelda experience. And lo and behold, that as soon as I put in the game, instantly I am blown away with how much is so different. It's very hard to explain. You see, the game feels familiar, but at the same time, you notice several details that the developers went out of their way to destroy any part of whatever was dragging down the Legend of Zelda with traditions, that they replaced them with other things that would make this game stand on its own right. And what you're left with is, rather than an adventure game, you're left with an experience adventure type game, as I would like to call it.
I don't much care for consuming weapons.
You mean the whole weapons breaking system?
Yes.
No, I don't either.
I know it's annoying to deal with, but to be honest, it's actually a mechanic that I found myself instantly, all for it, and basically, okay, this is part of the overall experience, because how in the original Zelda games, you were able to go around with a sword, that, that's unbreakable, but it's also, you could cut grass everywhere and you get hearts like everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Non-existent now. There's really no point to cut the grass unless you want to find certain bugs or lizards hiding in the undergrowth. Now you have to learn to survive in the wilderness with nothing but yourself and the array of weapons you find and the food you can make from ingredients that you can gather from catching fish, hunting animals, finding mushrooms. Literally, they have brought in survival aspects to this game, which makes it a big game changer for me, and it works like a charm, to what it goes for, so I can actually live with the breakable weapons. I mean, you quickly find weapons that are more durable anyway, that last for a bit longer than 3 hits, which is in the nearly beginning part of the game.
Well, I am glad you're having fun, Devar.
Yeah, it's definitely a very fun experience. It's strange enough, I'm actually going to say 2 things here. This game, I really like it just because it's open-ended. You can tackle any problem, in any number of ways that you can think of, depending on your surroundings. Other than that, Breath of the Wild is really, really close to topping Twilight Princess for me for best 3D Zelda game I've played in a long while.
And yet, no Midna.
Exactly. That's the only thing right now.
There is no Midna. If this game had Midna, it would be the best.
Then again, I would like to say 2 things. I've not gotten far into the story as of yet to meet the other characters, so I've not found anyone that is likable yet to me, other than just enjoying the vistas that the game creators painstakingly created, that literally you can go anywhere essentially. But other than that, I would have to say that story-wise, I will have to see how that pans out, because so far Twilight Princess kind of tops it still for the story department for my liking, while Breath of the Wild is like a different experience overall compared to any other Zelda experience that I've ever had personally.
Okay, I get it. I think this is the most you've ever talked in our podcast.
And it's when I'm sick.
Yeah, it's when your throat hurts and you're coughing blood, essentially. Every 5 minutes.
I hate this right now.
Well, okay. I think we can wrap up this podcast. We have enough material for a podcast. So, yes. Thanks for listening to this, everybody. This has been Madhog the Master with the Magic Twins.
Yes, I've been Devar, and I'm very, very sorry about my state of health, and if it was terrible to listen to with me.
And I'm Dantan Stormkeeper. I did the stormkeepering.
Ah, yes. Thank you, Dantan, Keeper of the Storm, and thank you, Devar, Baron of the Ark.
He had a very big story arc.
I shall bid you goodbye, me, Master of Die. And I will see and hear you next time for more of these mirabolant adventures in the world of radio hosting, I guess.
Yes, take care, all, and see you around. And hope I'll be better next time.
And remember, whenever you're feeling down, hop on the pogo stick, the pogo stick, the pogo stick, hop on the pogo stick, and go die in a ditch.